mentioned, we're excusing them early today because we have a testimony we're going to share in a moment that's probably not suited for their age group. But let me remind all of you parents of something. We have in our lobby a television screen that shows what's taking place in here. And for nursing moms, we also have a video set up in the nursery in case your children need comforting. Now, there are two things about me personally that's incongruent with some of you. One, I'm a grandfather now, so my tolerance for children's noises has gone way up. Secondly, my hearing has gone way down. So I'm not always attuned to the fact that your child needs to be comforted. But if they do, please take advantage of those two locations so that I don't have to hear about it when I get back in town, okay? Thank you very much. For a long, long time, there was a certain priest in our community who advertised the shortest Mass in the county. And people flocked there so they could get in, check the box, and get out. That is a kind of church. If you drive through this community, you'll find small little Methodist and Episcopalian churches scattered throughout the county. Have you ever noticed? That's because that represents a different philosophy. It's about putting down a footprint of the organization. Now, our philosophy of ministry here is somewhat different from both of those. We believe that people are broken and that they need to be healed. Any broken people here? Any broken people who have been healed here? And that process is continuing because we get right down to the nitty-gritty of life. So sometimes you'll hear testimonies in this house that'll kind of make you go,
I can't believe they said out loud.
Well, yeah, because we deal with the real stuff. Because we believe Jesus will restore you to yourself and help you reclaim your true self. And this morning, we've got a young man who's going to testify before we go to communion about how Celebrate Recovery has helped him move forward in life. Brian?
How you guys doing? Okay. Well, I'm back. Can you stand? We got one clapper. Just want to let you know real quick, Celebrate Recovery meets on Friday nights at 7:30 every Friday here in the sanctuary and deal with a whole host of things. And we know we're a little short on time this morning, so I'm gonna turn it over to Brian. He's on our team, awesome man of God, and we're just really proud of him. So give him a welcome, please.
Thank you. First, can everybody hear me? All right. Yes. Oh, it was awesome. Hawaii was amazing. You'll hear the story after this, I guess. We only used half our budget that we planned for, so God had us there. It's not? Can you hear me? Right here? All right.
I'm not the only one who's here.
Yeah. All right. I'll go ahead and just give a quick that this, like he said, this testimony is definitely very open and very, very blunt. So bear with me. In a poll of only 1,000 respondents, there were 50% of Christian men and 20% of Christian women that were found to be addicted to pornography. In a very similar poll, the average age of a child first viewed pornographic content was at 11 years of age. Hello, my name is Brian. I'm a faithful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with temptations of pornography and seeking unhealthy acceptance outside the marriage. I also struggle with anger, resentment, and unforgiveness towards my biological father. I grew up in a house of 5 kids with me smack dab in the middle. Growing up in a family, we went to church every day that the doors were open. My earliest memories were about 3 years old. I remember walking up to my parents at that age and handing them the rings at their wedding. Later down the road, I would learn to appreciate that my mom remarried because I found out that my biological father was abusive and a drunk who would look out for himself first. My stepdad took my two older siblings and I to the courthouse and adopted us, and that's how I got the last name Perriman. After that, he provided a safe and loving home for my mother, my siblings, and I. When I was 18, my biological father, Dana, had died. I then realized that I wouldn't have a chance to meet him and get the answers that I have racing through my head to this day. Questions like, why did you abandon your family? Why didn't you fight for a relationship with us? And why did you walk away, accepting your fate and never looking back? We lived in Virginia for 14 years at 2 different locations, and during that time, my 2 younger siblings were born. With more kids in the picture, I started to feel like my parents had to be scheduled in order to be with them, and that started my issue with isolation, because it was easier to entertain myself than it was to go through the trouble for someone else's time. At the second location in Virginia, we attended the same church and kept all the same friends, as well as making new ones. At church one day, I made a new friend. I was 10 at this time. His name was Brian as well, and he was 23 years old. Brian met my parents and got close to my family. I was excited because now I was able to have someone at the house that was interested in me, spent time with me, and gave me the attention I longed for. We really bonded, mostly over playing video games together. A few months later will be the first event in my life that would start my issue with trusting men. Brian, who I thought was my closest friend, sexually abused me. When we brought him to court and they asked him for his plea, he said not guilty. After that, I was confused about whether or not I had done the right thing. I felt as if I had gotten him in trouble for something that he didn't do. I had guilt thinking that it was my fault that he went to jail for the time that he did, and that what he did was not wrong. I was 11 years of age when I came across my first pornographic website by accident, just by clicking links that were unfamiliar. I didn't know that what I had stumbled upon. All I knew was that when I found it, it produced a feeling of curiosity, and I was greatly intrigued. Over some time, I found myself going back to it as often as twice a day. The next thing I knew, I was hooked. After a while, my parents came across the porn that I had been looking at and told me to stop, that it was bad, but never really told me why. I wasn't able to help myself. I just kept getting drawn back and sucked in. My parents did what they could to stop me with pop-up blockers and a restriction program, but the power of the addiction would always draw me in, and I would always find a way. After many years of battling my addiction, it then became more than just an escape from reality for me. It became a daily routine. In 2006, my family moved to North Carolina, and my addiction stayed a part of my routine. Through high school, I was always in a relationship. I needed to always be close and physical, and felt like something was missing if I wasn't with someone. I soon realized that I needed to get away from the stress in my family and the pressure of my temptations of wanting to chase girls. In January of 2006, when I was 18, I moved to Texas and started at an internship in Teen Mania for media production to help work and acquire the fire. I was so happy because photography and videography is a passion of mine. For a while, I had no problems with my addiction, but that was only because I was suppressing the issue. I was under a strict code of conduct at the internship that was mandatory to follow or I could get dismissed. My life completely changed when I met this wise, beautiful young woman named Micah, who was also a student there. Time went by and I got to know her. She was on fire for God, trying to clean up for her own issues, and like me, came to Teen Mania to work on herself and reconnect with God. I really liked her and wanted to get to know more about her. Time went by and I pursued a relationship with her, even though it was against the school rules. There were strict no dating rules among the students. Although I was not participating in my addiction to porn, our relationship became sexually active. A year went by of us meeting together every chance we got, with drinking, going to bars, and having sex. After a few months, I was turned into the staff for what I was doing, and I was dismissed from Teen Mania. Shortly after, I moved in with Micah, not realizing that my life was spiraling downhill and putting me closer and closer to my suppressed addiction. A few months later, and my addiction came back with a vengeance. When I wasn't with Micah, I was looking at porn and hiding it from her. This led into flirting and exchanging pictures with girls I used to hang out with. I would lie to myself and say that it was okay because it was never physical. In the end, I was staying with Micah.
Micah found out eventually, and we would fight all the time about it. No matter how much we fought and how much I wanted to stop, I couldn't stop myself. I wasn't able to do it on my own. A year later, Micah and I ended up moving back to Maryland. The fighting stopped for a while only because I was able to suppress my addiction better. After a few months, I proposed to the woman of my dreams, and she said yes. May 22nd, 2010 was the best thing in my life happened. Micah and I became husband and wife. But little did she know, she wasn't just marrying me. She was also getting my deepest secret of porn and unhealthy urge for affection from women. Our marriage was going well on the surface, but I was still practicing my addiction and was right back to looking at porn every chance I got. I also slowly went back to talking to other girls and actually doing role-playing online. I was still thinking that there was no harm done as long as it didn't get physical. Well, again, Micah found out about what I was doing, only this time I ended up sleeping on the couch with an agreement to go to counseling. My first attempt at doing counseling was unsuccessful. I agreed to do prayers that heal the heart here at our Father's house. It is a fantastic program, and I was doing well at making progress, but then I used my busy schedule as an excuse to quit going. After I stopped, I fell right back into my old ways, and as usual, Micah found out. After some more fighting, I tried my second attempt at counseling. Speaking to a complete stranger enabled me not to open up about my addictions. I went to a few sessions, then just stopped going. We fought again, but this time, the fight ended with the scariest sentence to leave the lips of my wife. She said, "Brian, I can't do this anymore. You're cheating on me, whether you consider it that or not. You are abusing my emotions and taking the chances I give you for granted. You have 4 weeks to meet with someone about this, or I'm leaving you." The words hit like a hammer to my chest. I felt like a complete failure, wondering if I was even worth the effort. I was scared. We had only been married for about 6 months, and I didn't want to be a part of those statistics. I knew that this was it. I either had to get help or lose the best thing that has ever happened to me. I met with Pat, someone that I had gotten close to and trusted. He looked me dead in the eyes and said that he couldn't help me. At that moment, I thought all was lost. Then he began to tell me about a program called Celebrate Recovery that he was involved with. He said if I would give it an honest try, he would walk with me and support me in it. From the way that he explained it, I knew this was not only my only option, but my only hope. I went to the very next meeting up at Encounter Christian Center with Micah. I wanted to sit in the back row and hide. I remember walking in and being greeted from everyone as if they already knew me. I didn't feel judged, but accepted, and that everyone there was working on some hurt, habit, or hang-up in their life. After the large group lesson was over, I thought, that wasn't too bad. Then we broke off into small groups. I was in a small room with 7 other men who I didn't know, and I was going to be asked to talk about myself in front of these people. We went one at a time, and it appeared that I was going to be last. My heart was racing as it was getting to my turn, and I could feel my usual defense to shut down and not talk coming up. When my turn came, I finished a short prayer to myself, and I surprised myself. I started to talk and share my heart, my thoughts, and my struggles. We kept going back week after week, and the more I went back, the more I realized that as long as I have my faith in God to help me through, I can succeed at winning against this addiction. Proverbs 28:13 says, "He who conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will find compassion." The first night I began to do exactly that. We continued to go to CR, and I joined the men's step studies group. This group took it to another level, getting more involved and intense with my healing process. I was doing everything I knew to keep my sobriety from porn. I stay away from computers unless it involves work. We put passwords on the computers at home so I could only have access if I have Micah home to sign me on and keep me accountable. Ecclesiastes 4, 9, and 10 says, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. During my recovery process, I have been able to work on growing in trust with Micah and my healing our relationship. I have been willing to let her into areas of my life where before I would hide and protect myself from being vulnerable. We will soon be celebrating 5 years of marriage. Our relationship is stronger than ever, and I can't be more blessed with such a loving and supporting wife. When anyone else would have given up on me, she was there with me. Not behind me to watch me fail, or in front of me to lead me and tell me what to do. She was beside me the whole way to support me when I struggled and help me out when I stumbled. We have not only attended, but have also become part of the Celebrate Recovery leadership team. I have been clean now for 22 months. Celebrate Recovery has given me a safe place to be myself and to share my hurts, my habits, and my hang-ups. It has also provided me a great team of men that I consider family and can call on if I need any help. Now that you have just heard my story, I would like to say I can't wait to hear yours. My name is Brian Perriman. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I'm recovering from my addiction to pornography, and I am working on my anger, resentment, and unforgiveness towards my biological father. And thank you for letting me share.